Good evening, everybody. It's 7 o'clock on Tuesday, and we are going to get started. This is Natalie, and I'm excited about the lesson tonight. It's going to be a little different, little unique, I think. Come on in. Hey, Renisha, come on in. Hi, Kiki, come on in. Good to see you guys. Come on in, come on in. Yeah, I have a unique lesson, I think, tonight for you guys. And I was driving, and this kind of just jumped out at me, but I want to share a familiar story with you guys. Tonight's title of this lesson is The Three Little Pigs. Yeah, The Three Little Pigs. And so I want to talk to you guys tonight. I know it's a familiar story. Come on in, everybody. Familiar story. We all know it. We all grew up with it. And but we're gonna kind of go into the little pigs. We've heard the story. We know the nursery rhyme, but let's talk about the three little pigs. How's everybody doing? I want everybody to say hi first. Let me get used to this. Say hello. Yeah, somebody's just cracking up. We're gonna talk about the three little pigs, and this is easy, so everybody can participate. Everybody knows the story, right? Everybody knows the story of the three little pigs. Everybody knows they all wanted to build houses. Everybody wanted their own thing, right? Because the three little pigs saw somebody else building a house and they said, hey, we want to build houses too, right? Be mindful of looking at what everybody else is doing when you want to set out to do something. But they wanted to build a house. Each one of them wanted to build their own houses, their own homes. And so the story opens up, these three little pigs, they set out to build their homes, and each of them had a different idea of the type of house they wanted to build, right? So they set out to build their homes, and each of them said, like Frank Sinatra, I'm doing it my way. No, I don't want to build my house like that. I don't want to build my house like that. They knew because they saw other homes that they wanted to build a house. They wanted to build their own homes. They knew it was time for them to set out and make their own way, kind of like some of us. So as a result, each of them had a mindset of an idea, I should say, of what type of house they wanted to build, right? And so this is interesting. They set out to build their homes. Now, the story, what it doesn't tell us is if the pigs came from the same family. Story doesn't tell you that. Story doesn't tell you if the pigs came from the same community. Story doesn't tell you that. Story doesn't tell us about the background of the pigs. All the story tells us was there were three pigs who set out to build their own house, their own homes, and they all had an idea as to what they thought would be a good home for them. So let me tell you the personality of the pigs. Well, the first pig, the story says, he built his house of straw. Sounds like he was cheap. Because anybody knows if you're going to build a house, you should build a house that's durable. You should build a house that's strong. You should build a house that's going to last outstand the weather, that's going to outstand the rain, the snow, the whatever, if a fire happens, right? So this pig sets out to build his house of straw. One thing the story tells us about the personality of this pig, he was probably a little cheap. He wanted to take a shortcut. He wanted to build his house quick, right? And he was building his house out of convenience. He wasn't building a house for durability. He was building a house of convenience. How many people do we have and you're building your house of convenience? Your life is convenient for you. Your life is easy for you. Your life is comfortable for you. How many pigs do we have out there and you're building your house of straw? It's easier to build a house of straw. I don't have time to go pick up sticks and blah, and carry all these bricks and all this stuff. I'm building a house of straw. It's going to be lightweight. It's going to be easy. It's going to be cheap. And I can get it done quickly. How many people do I have out there and you're always looking for a shortcut? Here you are building this house just like this little pig, but you're looking for a shortcut. You're looking for a quicker way. You're looking for the discount. I always say, you're looking for the hookup. You're the person that buys the bootleg out of the trunk. You're the person that goes and gets the same thing. You need the same thing for a lesser price. So you'll spin your wheels looking for something cheaper, very similar to what is best, but you need to save a few dollars. And I told you, I think last week, that's a poverty mentality. That's a poverty mentality. And what you're saying is, I want the best. I don't want to earn it. I mean, I don't want to spend my money for it, but I do want the best. I want the same thing. I want a house. I want the houses that I saw. I want a durable house, but I want to take a cheap route. I want to go a cheaper route. I want to do it faster. I don't want it to take as much time. I want it to be quicker. How many of those pigs do we have out there? And you're building a house of straw because it's easier. You don't challenge yourself. You don't try to do any more. You don't come out of your comfort zone. And right in your comfort zone, listen to me, right in your comfort zone, you have everything that you need to make your life peaceful. I got my remote control in my comfort zone, got something to drink. I got a blanket, got my phone, got all my stuff right in my comfort zone. How many of you are building something, building this life, and you need to be comfortable? It's good to have the history in your job, but how many of you have passed up opportunities to be greater in your job because you've been comfortable? You don't want to change your hours. You don't want to get up earlier. You don't want to stay late, or didn't go back to school because you just, it's not, I don't want to be uncomfortable. I don't want to be uncomfortable. I don't want to take the position. I don't want to try because I just don't want to be uncomfortable. So I'm going to take the easy route. I'm going to do what's easy. I'm going to always do what's convenient. I'm going to always do what's cheaper. And you're like this first little pig who built his house of straw. It was cheaper, it was easier, it was quicker, it wasn't a challenge, there was no hard work in it. It was just it was convenient for him. It was comfortable for him, and he built it quick. And I can imagine this little pig sitting back going, gosh, look at the other two. They got all this material carrying all this stuff. See, you should have built a house of straw. You should have built your house like this. You should have built a house of hay, of straw, because it's easier. It was cheaper. You're going to save money. Y'all working too hard. And here you are sitting back enjoying and relishing, building your little house of straw because it was cheaper. But remember, the reason you wanted to build a house in the first place was because you saw someone else. They wanted a house because somebody else had a house. So here you are with a house, but you built it the way that you thought. You built it the way that you thought. You built what you wanted, not really what you needed. You built what you thought you needed at the time. So this is the thing about reality and vision. Reality will cause you to make plans, build your life, do things right now. For all of my right now people who don't believe in planning, don't believe in vision, don't believe in process, don't believe in structure, don't believe in budgeting, don't believe in eating healthy right now, don't believe in saving your money, spending every dime that you get, credit cards are your life, you are living right now. And that's the first little pig mentality. Just do it easy right now, and we'll worry about later. And you know how the story goes. You're really setting yourself up for a downfall. If you're spending every dime you get and you head over heels with credit because you needed to buy it, you're the first little pig. Immediate gratification will rob you. Listen to me. Immediate gratification will rob you. I need it right now because I want it. And then what a lot of us say is, well, this is what I work. I'm grown and I can get this right now. You can build a house of straw and nobody's going to stop you. They're going to give you all the permits in life. You're going to get all the passes in life. God is going to give you all the permits in life to build the house that you can see. Not the house that you envision, but to build the house that you can see. Because right now, you can only see a house of straw. Easy, comfortable, cheap, your way, and it's fast. So that's the life you're living. And then God gives you a pass and he allows you to build that house. Go on and spend all your money, but don't ask me to bless your finances. Go on and spend all your money. Go on and have more clothes in your house than your closet can hold. Go ahead and waste all your money. Go ahead and do all this and eat yourself to death and da-da-da-da-da. And but don't ask me to heal you. So he gives you all the passes, all the permits. He permits you. Come on here. That's what the permissive will is. He permits you to build this house of straw, and we build it. And then we sit back because we built it really quick and it looks nice to us, at least. And then we do this, justification. Well, I know it's of straw, but at least we say that, don't we? At least I have a roof over my head. But why would you settle for at least when you can have more than? Why would you settle for at least when you can have an abundance? Why would you settle for just enough when you can have much more than that? Why would you settle for what is now when you can have greater possibility? But that's the mindset of the first pig. He built his house of straw and he was cool with it. He was cool with it. Some of us are building our lives like that, easy, comfortable, shallow. We let everybody into our lives. We date everybody. Some of us have married just anybody and then realize, oh, I shouldn't have done this. But that's the first little pig. He needed it quick. He needed it cheap. He needed it in a hurry. Come on here. He needed it easy. Is that you? Is that how you building your life? No, I don't want to try. I don't do that. I can't get up and go exercise today. No, I can't. No, I'm not going for the promotion. I'm just not going to get it. You know what? No, I can't go back to school. Is that you? Is that you? Is the blame game and it's everybody else's fault? I'm just going to build what I can. And at least I have a roof over my head. And when you put a but there or you put an at least there, what you do is you deny yourself the possibilities of what's in front of you. You deny yourself of what could be when you say, well, at least I got. Because what you're doing now is you're comparing yourself to somebody that has no house. Well, yeah, I built my house of straw, but at least I have a house. And what you're doing is looking at rather than looking to the right of the sticks and the bricks, you're looking to the left of the person that's sleeping on the ground. So let me tell you something about comparison. Comparison is a double negative sometimes when it deals with the personalities of people. Let me say that. Comparison will do two things. Comparison, one, if I'm comparing myself to you, I'm either doing one of two things. One, I'm probably telling myself, I'm better than you. At least I have a house. She's sleeping on the ground. That's still not good. Or I'm telling myself too, oh, well, gosh, look at them. They have a house and I'm sleeping on the ground. Comparison either takes you to a much higher than you should go or much lower than you should go. But comparison is not good. And this pig said, well, at least I have a roof over my head. And that was his reality right there. I don't care about possibility. I don't care about storms coming. I don't care about things that will happen. I don't care about fires coming. I don't care about what could possibly destroy my house. I built this with my own hands. I'm proud of me. And reality says, so now just close off possibility because this is what you have with you now. So the second little pig, he builds his house and he says, look at this fool who built his house of sticks. I'm building a much sturdier house than that. I'm with straw. I'm building a much sturdier house than that. I'm building a house of sticks. Sticks are much stronger than straw. The only thing that could probably destroy the sticks are strong wind, maybe fire. But sticks are much more durable than what this dude just built over here. Again, comparison, right? What kind of house are you building? So my life isn't as bad as my sisters. It isn't as bad as my cousin. It isn't as bad as my coworker, but I'm gonna build a house of stick. And here we go again with my mindset. So building a house of stick, you say, you know what, this cost me. My house is better because it did cost me a little more. So building a house of stick, you sacrificed a little more, but you still didn't go all the way. You still didn't build it strong enough. It's stronger than what you saw, but it's not as strong as it could be. Right? So say you left your mom and daddy, well, I'm going to do something different in my house. So you build a house a little stronger than what you came from. Come on here. But you still didn't go all the way. And what God does again is he gives permits. He gives permission for you to build your house like that. So I do just enough more and I compare myself to somebody less, and that helps me to be justified in my decision. Well, at least I built a house of stick and not of straw, so I have to be better than them. And it's easier to look back. Remember I said reminiscing is emotional, but reflection would have said, Build something stronger than hay that can withstand, something that's going to cost you more. And the mindset that he had was, I'll use sticks. But he didn't keep his mind open. He didn't keep vision open to keep him going toward possibility, greater possibility. He stopped right there with sticks. He just stopped. He just stopped. And he said, because mine is greater than his, I've done something great. And in actuality, he built something stronger than the person next to him, but he didn't build what he should have actually built for him, or what was ordered for him. And then we know the last pig built his house of brick. He said, I'm willing to put in the time. I'm willing to put in the money. I'm willing to put in the labor. Come on here. I'm willing to put in the time. I'm willing to put in the money. I'm willing to put in the work. I'm willing to sacrifice to build something that cannot easily be torn down. The only thing that will destroy this is shaking. Come on here. He said the only thing that will destroy this is shaking. So the last little pig builds this house of brick. He says, I'm willing to sacrifice to build it. I'm willing to sacrifice the time and the money and my effort. I'm willing to commit to the time that it will take to build it. I'm all in on building this house. I'm putting everything into it because this will be the only house that I build. Come on here. The last house, the first house that I build, and it will be the last house that I build. And it will be the best house that I build. So if you get one life, why would you skimp on building your life as the first pig with straw and the second pig with sticks? Why not just keep possibility open, keep your vision open, keep your heart to God, and build the best life that you could build? Why would you skimp on you? Don't sell yourself cheap. Don't sell yourself cheap. So remember, the story doesn't tell us if these pigs came from the same family, if they had the same mindset, if they grew up with the same parents. Story doesn't tell us any of that. So just as diverse as they are, that's all of us. Different families, different communities, different cities, different states, different years that we were born, different months of the year, all of that diversity. So this is the thing. Your culture, what determined the type of houses these pigs built, I was going to say young men, but that these pigs built was their mindset, the culture of their mindset. Where did they get that from? Where did he get it from to build a house of straw and say, that's enough? At least I built a house. At least I built a house. Where did he get that from? Where did the other one get that from to say, at least I built a house. I didn't build it of straw. At least I built a house. And where did the third pig get the mindset to use brick? Where did he get it from? From their culture, from where they came from what started them to thinking, from where their desires came from where vision or lack of vision came from. At least we see it spiritually, we see it physically, we see it mentally, we see it emotionally. Some people are emotionally building houses of straw, very timid, very shallow. You can't say good morning too loud. But where did you get that from? From your culture. Your culture taught you that. Your culture taught you that spiritually. Spiritually, in some churches have a lot of church rules that have nothing to do with God. And you can see it in the actions of the people that come from that culture. Yeah, you go to church, you do a lot of church. Come on here, but you don't have a lot of purpose, a lot of effectiveness of God in your life. You got a lot of church stuff. You got the lingo, you got the attire down, but you don't have a lot of power. You got all of this God, but you're not affecting the community that you live in. And your culture taught you to come to church. Your culture didn't teach you to effect change in the world. Your culture taught you spiritually to wait till the people come in the building. Your culture didn't teach you to go get them. Your culture taught you come to church and be spiritual, but your culture didn't teach you to take this thing through your house. Everything about my life says the culture that I grew up in, the culture that I came from. So when we look at this, what kind of house are you building based on your culture? Or what role does your culture play in the house that you're building? Let me ask you like that. What role does your culture play in the house that you're building? So when we talk about culture, we can easily generalize. Oh, they do this, these people do this, these people do this, these people do this. But what I want to do is make it a little more personal. I don't want to do the culture of Hispanics and the culture of Black people and the culture of white people and the culture of men and the culture of women and the culture of teenagers and adolescents and, you know, the millennials. I don't want to do culture like that. I want to do personal culture. So everybody look at themselves. Don't look at, well, we as a race of people, this is what we do, and we don't eat that, and we don't do this. All of that's culture, because culture is a visualization of your values, of your worth, of what you see yourself, how you see yourself, your standard. Your culture is a visualization of the standard that you were taught to live or lack or not to live. But your culture can be seen, come on here, through the values that you live. Your culture can be seen based on how you value yourself, right? So your culture or your value, we talked about a few weeks ago, is your worth. It's your belief system. It's your guidelines. It's your rules. All of that establishes your culture to determine what kind of house you're building, to determine which of the three little pigs you are. What does your culture teach you about what type of house you're building? So if I looked at you, your culture would tell me your values easily. Your culture easily speaks of what you value or what your values are, what your belief system is, what your guidelines are, what your standard is, what your rules are. Your culture speaks volumes to that. So let me ask you this, based on your culture, what kind of house are you building? So, excuse me, when we look at culture, culture is that system that you live by. Come on here, and the system that you live by is the standard that you live under based on the values that you have. And my values are based on what I believe, what I guide my life with, what my rules are for my life, what my standard is, right? This all ties in, all these weeks, it all ties in. My culture can be seen. My culture visualizes my standard. My culture tells you what type of person I am. My culture tells you what kind of mother I am, what kind of wife I am. My culture tells you who I am spiritually. My culture you can see that in my life, right? So your culture starts in a community. Say you have an entire community of people. There's a culture of that community. But when you break that culture down, I'm still talking about the pigs, because we're talking about results for your life. So when you break that community down into culture, you see what the general culture is. If you go into the market of that community, it'll tell you what the general culture of that market is. I mean, that market will tell you what the general culture of the community is. Go into the market and look at what's in the market. The shops in the community will tell you what the general culture is of the community. What the values are, what the standard is of the community. So you can't, perfect example, you probably won't walk into a Whole Foods and say, I like 3 pounds of pig feet. Just not gonna happen in a Whole Foods. You can't, my mother used to make hog head cheese. And it was literally the hog's head, the ears, the feet, certain parts, the whole head of hog. Literally make hog head cheese from it. But she didn't go to Whole Foods to buy a hog head. No, no, because the culture of that market, what's in that market tells you the culture does not eat hog head cheese. So you're not going to find a hog head in Whole Foods in so-and-so city, right? The market will tell you the culture of the community. The shops in the area will tell you the culture of the community, right? So when you narrow the community down to a family, in that community, the culture shifts. So not every family in that community goes into the market in the community. Because some families in the community are now establishing their own culture. And guess what? We don't eat pork. We don't eat pork. So the market in our community, come on here, that sells food that's for the community, that tells you the culture of the community. There are families who are saying we're going to shift the culture of the community a bit for us, and we're not going to eat pork. So they don't. And they've just taken on a value for them as a family that's not the whole community, right? So then you got another family in that same community that says, yeah, the market in our community sells meat. We as a family are shifting the culture as well. We don't even eat meat. We're vegetarians. So each family has an opportunity. You have the right, you have the privilege, listen to me, to change the culture to a culture that fits the standard you want to live and the values and rules and beliefs that will depict that standard. Somebody tell me I'm making sense, because this seems like a whole lot, but tell me it's making sense. Tell me it's making sense. The community store will tell you the culture of the community. And it's not a given fact that every family in the community shops at that community store, because there are some things in that store that they don't eat. And they just shifted, I said, they just shifted their culture to create a culture for them as a family. Now, in each family, there are children, husband, wife, children. Now, the children are raised under the culture of the parents. But when the children leave home, the children set out to create what? Their own culture in a different community. Now, what you might do is you might pull some things from the community that you came from, and you might pull some things from your parents, from the culture that you came from under your parents. But when you set out to create your own life, like these pigs, you start to create your own standard of living. Sometimes that standard, from when you leave your parents, the standard is here. And when we leave our parents, sometimes we lower the standard, and sometimes we stand on their shoulders and we go higher. But you start to create a culture of your own. That's why one pig said, I don't care where we came from. He was creating his own culture. I'm building a cheap house. I'm building a house that's going to be comfortable, and I'll worry about the outcome later. So he built his house of straw. And that's why the second one said, you know what? I'm not going to be that cheap. I'm going to build a house that's going to withstand some things. I'm building mine to stick, because I grew up in a house like this. Make it strong, but make it do what it needs to do, but it don't have to last forever. That's the kind of house I'm building. And then the third pig said, no, I came from a house of builders and planners and visionaries. And they said, build strong and build wise. And he stood here on this standard, and then he went up. So what kind of house are you building based on the culture you've come from? So some of you are saying, well, I didn't get all that growing up. And well, I didn't, and you're justifying why you're building a house of straw. Well, my kids got raised like I did. And so I didn't teach my kids all of that. And I didn't teach my children. And that's why my son is this. And that's why my daughter is that. But this is the power of this. You always have a choice to shift the culture, to change the culture to the values that you set, to create your own standard. So maybe the standard that you came from, the culture that you came from, wasn't enough. So create your own. But it's not an excuse to cop out and say, well, this is how I was raised. This is me. You building a house of straw, that's a cop out. And I'm not going to let you tell me that. Well, this is just who I am, and this is how I was raised. Okay, and you're 50 years old. You need to establish something different. You need to take your life to the next level. You need to do better. Oh, don't give me I grew up in church and I am spiritual. Everybody is spiritual, but not everybody walks with God. The evidence should say it. I don't mean religion. I don't mean how you dress, what you don't wear, the rules of the game. I don't mean that. I mean, is there power more than going to church? Don't tell me the culture. My whole family went to church, and that means what? And then my whole family went to Vegas, and we went to church. But that means what? What does it mean that you went to church? Because a lot of people are going to church and they walk in defeat, and they still have no vision for their lives, and they're still broke. They still don't have any money. They're still struggling paycheck to paycheck. They still haven't stood up in their communities. So you can't tell me that you are spiritual. What does that mean? What culture have you created from where you came from? Have you added to? Have you taken away? What kind of house are you building? Is it a house of straw? Is it a house of stick? Or is it a house of brick? Some of us aren't giving ourselves the best because I don't want to sacrifice the time. I don't want to commit to being my best self. So I'm just going to take life as life comes. And the only person you're cheating is you. Because eventually your children, if you don't pour it into them, they'll set out and they'll go establish their own culture. And either they're going to lower the standard that you gave them, or they're going to stand on your shoulders and they're going to do something different. Some of us right now going back and forth with our kids talking about your parents didn't do that. Leave them alone. They're creating a standard of their own. They're not going to do it like you did it. And whatever it looks like for them, let them do it until they can establish a standard and values that are for them. But leave them alone. They're not going to do it like you. They're not going to raise their kids like you. Step back. Step back. I have 6 kids, and what I'm not going to do is tell a mother what she needs to do with her kids. Because what worked for me might not work for you. And today, we got all kind of modernized stuff. You need to buy this, and this pacifier is $3,000. And they said this pacifier presses on the taste buds of the tongue, and it helps the baby it soothes the baby, kind of, helps the baby to sleep better. Whatever, buy it. Buy it. I didn't even buy pacifier. Buy it. But I'm not here to tell you. I'm here to help you build your standard. I'm here to help you build your house, but I'm not here to tell you how to build it, because the way I build my house might not be the way you're going to build your house. But what I won't let you do is build it cheap. Because if you come to me, I'm going to tell you, this is the sacrifice you need to make. This is the commitment you need to make. This is what you need to do. This is the surrender you need to make. This is what you need to give up. So as you leave your family, you've left your family, what kind of house are you building based on the culture you're establishing? Don't do the reminisce, what your parents didn't give you, what they didn't teach you, and you wish they had told you. Start seeking the culture for yourself. Start seeking a culture that you can build based on your values, your belief, your guidelines, and the rules for your own life to establish a standard that's good for you. But stop telling me what happened to you when you were 12. Stop telling me what happened to you behind you. Take all of that stuff, that's your building material. Take all of that stuff and build a powerful life. Take all of that stuff and stop being a victim to what happened. Take all of that stuff and stop telling people what your parents didn't give you. Listen to me. Take all of it and build a solid house. This is the house. This is the house. I'm not talking about walls, not walls and windows and blinds and stuff. That's not what I'm talking about. Not this. But build a solid house right here. Build something. Build something. Listen, if it wasn't in your family, build something you've never seen before. My husband said, let's build something different. Let's build something powerful. Let's build a legacy. Let's teach our children to be confident and to be strong and to not be easily intimidated and to not quit and not to give up. What kind of house are you building? You can cop out if you want to and build a house of straw. And have people come in to look at it and see it and all of this stuff. But you can also build a house of brick, but you got to be willing to commit to it. And you got to be willing to put the money in. You got to be willing to put the time in. You got to be willing to put the effort in. And you got to be willing to sit down and have conversations with your children and talk to them about vision and purpose and planning and possibility and saving their money. And if they're going to school, go to school for a trade. Go to school to learn something so when you do come out, you come out with a job. But don't send them to school aimlessly anymore and they don't know what to do when they come home. What kind of house are you building? And you have to make the time. You got to make the time to make your marriage work. Don't tell me your marriage is falling apart. It's only two people in there. It's not a committee. Marriage is only two people. Listen to me. It's only two people. It's not a committee of 5 and we got to all vote together. No, no, just a committee of 2. So what kind of marriage are you building? You can't tell me it's her fault. You can't tell me it's his fault. So you sitting back telling yourself, well, you know what? In my family, marriage, we just marry. We don't do marriage good. Change the culture. Change the culture. Change the value of marriage in your marriage. Change the guidelines of marriage in your marriage. Change the rules as a wife in you. Change the standard of marriage in your house so that your children can see something different. But don't use the cop-out, you know, the examples that you had before. You can't use that. Because now you're grown. You're like the little pigs. You're setting out to do your own thing, to build your own house. So what kind of house will you build? And this is the crazy thing. Each of them had a choice. They built their house based on their level, their mentality. We talked about that. They built their house based on the mindset that they had. They built their house based on their experience. Remember I told you about the chickens last week? Ego capabilities you have. Chicken mentality is easy. And some of us are royalty in our environment because it's the same environment. It hasn't changed at all. Growth is about changing. Growth is about coming out and stepping into. Growth is about leaving some things behind and advancing forward. Growth is about being better than I've ever been before in my life. Growth is about conquering my fears and trying some things that I have never tried before. Growth isn't about staying the same. Listen to me. Growth isn't about being the same. Growth isn't about being comfortable. Growth is about challenging yourself brick by brick. Brick by brick. I'm carrying one brick at a time because I'm building something and it's not easy. And the people around me are telling me it doesn't take all that. The people around me are telling me I'm stupid for building a house of brick when I could have easily saved money and built a house of stick and of straw, but I'm not listening because I'm building something. I'm building a legacy of power and a legacy of strength. Come on here, and a legacy of focus and determination and commitment. I posted something the other day and I said something about raising your children, but raising them to be effective adults. And someone said, you can't do that today. They said it's impossible. And I said it might be tedious, but it's not impossible. And they said, well, that can't happen today. I said, it can't happen today. I didn't go into my life, but I wasn't speaking from her experience. I was speaking from mine. I've already done it. I've already done it with 5 children. I got 1 more. So you can't tell me you can't raise effective children, effective adults. You can, because I did it. And that's her opinion. Slowly, I said, but what I did tell her was, it's not impossible. She said, that's impossible in this day and time. No, it's not. No, it's not. Because I did it. We did it. We did it. So you can't, I'm not going to let you justify to me that it's so, well, I'm just going to build a house of straw because society says. I don't care what society says. I'm building something. And I'm willing to put all the bricks on my back and carry them. You just got to be willing. You just got to be willing. The only person you're really fighting for is you. Because your kids, come on, if it's not what they want, they're going to go create it. Just like you did. If it wasn't what your parents had wasn't what you wanted, guess what you did? You created your own culture. You created your own standard. You created different values. Whether they were good or bad, and you had to learn from the bad ones and the good ones, you created what works for you. So the only person you're really doing it for now is you. And I said last week, and hopefully they'll get to see you living out your legacy. But be honest with yourself. What kind of house are you building? So look at the material that you use. If you're using straw, if you're going the cheap route, you're probably very superficial. Let me help you tonight. If you're building your house, this is the house, your life, and you're building a house of straw, you're probably very into how you look. You're into the material side of it. Your life is your accomplishments. You got your degree, you got an education, you got a career. Your life is, you got status, in the church, outside the church, on your job, in your community. You're building a house of straw. Because if any of that's taken away from you, you're devastated. People that lose their house and they just walk away from God, they walk away from everything. They walk away from, you might be into your looks. You just might be into your body. You just so into your body. But what happens when that straw is hit? Listen, cancer has come to my house twice. My husband, my daughter, cancer can just show up. But what happens when you build your house of straw, material things, your ego, your pride, yourself, your stuff, all your stuff, you got all your stuff. When you build your house of stuff and you don't build your house of stuff. My stick people, kind of the same thing. You got enough balance. You're spiritual. You kind of spiritual. You got a little bit, but but you're a little more focused. But the same thing. Build my house on my education, and I'm this. And you like to stick people like to compare. At least I ain't them. At least I finished college. At least I did. Well, they got a BA, but I got a master's and a PhD. And you are all of your degrees. Why can't your marriage work, though? Because this is what education doesn't do for you. This is what money can't do for you. This is what a car doesn't do for you. This is what a house can't do for you. This is what stuff can't do for you. Why can't your relationships work? Why aren't you focused? Why aren't you committed to anything? Only committed to yourself. Well, at least I'm not them. And I've had people say that, well, I have a degree. Okay. Listen to me. I've sat with therapists. I've sat with doctors. Okay. And you're sitting here talking to me. And I don't have any of it. I paid $25 to get out of high school. Why are you talking to me? Because you can have all the degrees on the wall and have no common sense. You can have all the degrees on the wall and can't think yourself out of a paper bag. You can have the biggest house, come on here, in the community and be the most unhappiest person in the world. You can have all the money in the bank and find yourself in a bathtub taking your life. Oh, come on here, somebody. We know comedians that have taken their life because they didn't find nothing funny. And they had all the money. They had all the stuff, but you're building your house of sticks and you're saying, well, at least I'm not them. You got all the stuff, but your character is shallow. Your character is watered down. You live in a culture of you and all your stuff, and you want people to know you based on your status and not on who you are. You're building a house of stick, and it makes you feel good that somebody is less than you. At least I didn't build my house of straw. I use stick. And then the person that builds their house with bricks. God is the foundation. Some of you are going to church and you have no relationship with him. Some of you are so religious that you are missing the possibility of where he's trying to take you to greater. You go through all the protocol of religion, come on here, and you're denying the power thereof. You can't even see the next level. If you're going to build a house of brick, come on here. It's not religion, it's relationship. And God is the foundation. And I might lose some people right there that might say, oh, here she goes talking about God. I wouldn't be here talking if it wasn't for him. And so you don't have to listen. I'm going to talk to the 7 people that I'm going to talk to. But if you want to build something or what you think you're listening to is me, it's God. God is the foundation to build with brick. He's the mortar. So you can buy brick. It's kind of like putting tile together. You can buy brick and you can stack the bricks all day long. But what holds the bricks together is called the mortar. It's the glue, if I can say it like that. In tile, come on, it holds it all together. And you can build it, but if you don't use him to hold it all together, you haven't built anything. Come on here, if you're going to build from brick, you need God. Let me tell you, you need a vision. You need a plan, and you need purpose, and then you need the power to carry it out. If you're going to build from brick, let me tell you again, you need God, you need a vision, you need a plan, you need purpose, and then you need the power to carry it out. And now you're building something. But if you're going to build it the way you think and you're going to tell him how you're going to build it, you're still not ready. He says, I'm trying to create a culture in you of power, of purpose, of legacy. Come on here. And effectiveness. At some point, you got to stop living that mediocre, that'll do life. Everything around you is mediocre, sticks and straws. My whole life is sticks and straws. Predictable. Everybody knows what I'm going to do, how I'm going to look, what I'm going to say. Predictable. You got to change it if you want more from your life. And if sticks and straws is good enough for you, you can log off. I'm not talking to you. But if you're listening to me and you want more from your life, commit to building your house of bricks. Commit to putting in the time. Commit to putting in the labor. Commit to spending the money. Commit to sitting down talking to your children. Commit to making your relationships better. Commit to being the leader on your job. Commit to going after the promotion. Commit to taking care of your health. Commit to saving your money. Commit to raising your standard, establishing some values for your life. Commit to that. But we got to get past looking at what we see, desiring it, and then that's all we do is desire it. What are you going to build? Which little pig are you? Which little pig are you? Which one are you? I'm going to build my house of straw, Natalie. I'm just going to, at least I got a roof over my head. Stay there. You live in reality. Well, I'm going to build my house of stick. At least I'm not them. At least I built mine of stick. Mine is a little stronger than theirs. At least mine doesn't look like theirs. You're the person that's lukewarm. You in and out. Today you hot, tomorrow you cold. Today you hot, tomorrow you cold. Are you going to be the person to build a brick? I'm building something. And I'm willing to sacrifice for it. I'm willing to not be popular for it. I'm willing to step out of some circles because I need to step into some circles. I'm building something. I'm willing to be misunderstood. I'm willing to not be liked. I'm willing for people to talk about me. I'm willing to not be accepted. I'm willing to not have a lot of friends. Come on here. When you're building a brick, you learn to carry your own weight. You learn to, God teaches you to carry your own weight. I don't need you to pray me through. If he put me in a situation, I'm building something. He's teaching me something. He's building something in me. And you don't get the good lessons if you don't go through anything hard. God, I'll take cancer. I'll take it. Because we're building something, but we're not going to bow down to it. We're not going to bow down to it. But what I can't go back to is stick mentality or straw mentality. I'm not either one of those. And you got to know which little pig you are, what you're building. When you determine what you're building, come on here. First, you get a vision. I'm building a house. And then after you get a vision, you get a plan. Get the vision, I'm building a house. What kind of house are you building? And then you establish your plan. And then after you establish the plan, you get the strategy. And the strategy is where you break down what kind of material you're going to use. I'm building a house, but I'm building a house of power. I'm building a house of holiness. I'm building a house of confidence. I'm building a house of anointing. I'm building a house of purpose. I'm building a house of vision. I'm building a house of plan. I'm building a house of unity. I'm building a house of character. I'm building a house of legacy. And then you start working the strategy every day. Which pig are you? The three little pigs. And only you can determine which pig you are. Sit down tonight and think about it. Go over the story. Meditate therein day and night that you would have good success. Read the story. If you go find it, get the details. But only you can determine which type of house you will build. And the culture that you came from, yes, it established some things for you, but that's back in the day, right? You brought some things with you. Come on here, but we're not reminiscing on it. We're going to reflect. We're going to look back and grab some things and bring it forward, but we're not staying back there emotionally talking about what we didn't get. Because what possibility does in front of me, everything that I didn't get behind me, come on here, I'm going to get it in front of me. But what I won't do is quit, and I'm not going to have a pity party about where I've been and what I'm not. What I am not, I will be. That's what vision and possibility says. So there is really no excuse. I don't care what culture you came from. I don't care what community you came from. I don't care what family you came from. Where you sit right now gives you the possibility to build your own culture. Build your own culture. And depending on the culture you build will determine the type of house that you build. What kind of house are you going to build? Which pig are you? Cute story. But it's so much depth in that. What are you building? And listen to me, the choice is yours. And you can't get jealous of your neighbor. Come on here, because they saved their money to build something great. I just moved into a whole brand new house. And I drive around the neighborhood going, dang, we should have did that. Dang, I like, ooh. They had vision. They had vision that I didn't have for my house. Come on here. They saw some things for their house that I didn't see for mine. You can't look at everybody else's house. Build what your house should be for you. And this is crazy. As you drive through this new community, none of the houses look the same. The outside, oh, hear me somebody. The outside doesn't look the same. Now the general motto is the same. The motto is the same. We're all made in the image and in the likeness of God. The models are the same. But when you go into each house, you have the privilege. You have the opportunity to decorate it however you want it to look on the inside. You have the opportunity to make the outside look like whatever you want it to look like. See, they have an original standard. They had 3 models of houses. And you choose the model that you want, but once you choose that model standard, you create the values to make that house what you want it to be. So every house looks different. Come on here, somebody. We're the models, we're human, made in the image and the likeness of God. But what you create this thing to be on the inside and on the outside is what you created to be. And that choice is yours. Don't make it like anybody else's, because you're selling yourself short. You're selling yourself short. You're taking the cheap route. Listen, if building a house of brick were easy, everybody would have a house of brick. And you know, if it's not you that has a house of straw and a house of stick, you know 5 people that do. And you can probably name them. Don't type them in the comments. I don't want to know. But you know some people building of stick and straw. If it's not you, you know some people. Some of you are on the fence. I don't want to commit to all of that. You're only selling you short. It's like having the ability, the capability to build a mansion, but Skid Row is so much easier. You got the capability as the eagle to build a mansion, but Skid Row is so much more easier. Now, it's a whole lot you got to deal with on Skid Row. And you're willing to deal with all of that, than more so being willing to build, come on here, to build a house made of brick that will sustain you and sustain your legacy. I'll just go back to Skid Row. I mean, I'm going to just I'll get a weapon and protect myself. I'm going to buy a tent, and that's just going to be good enough for me. I'm going to just, because you don't understand my life. You don't know how I grew up, Natalie. You got it made. You got a nice family. You don't understand where I came from. See, my whole family is like this. You just don't get it. I get it. I just don't even have time to tell you my story, but I get it. And you building a house of straw. When you still talking about, I'm the vision. I hear you married. You don't understand. Oh, okay. Build your house. Go ahead. Which pig are you? 3 little pigs. You choose. Build a house of straw, a house of stick, or a house of brick. And at each level, come on here, the commitment gets stronger. At each level, come on here, the sacrifice gets greater. At each level, come on here, it costs a little more. At each level, it takes a little more time. Come on here. At each level, you got to give just a little bit more. Come on here. At each level, the focus intensifies. Come on here. At each level, come on here, at each level. But at each level, also, the lessons get greater. At each level, the lessons get greater at each level. And this is the thing. If the lessons get greater at each level, come on here, what you receive gets greater at each level. Because the more you focus, the more you commit, the more you sacrifice, the greater the build, the greater the blessing. The greater the sacrifice, the greater the commitment, the greater the blessing. What kind of house are you going to build? Just sit down and ask yourself, which pig am I? What am I building? And you'll know which pig you are based on what you're building. Look at your life first. Then ask yourself the question, what am I building? And then you'll determine from there which pig you are. All right? Good lesson tonight. I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching. Share, 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 please. Also, mentorship will kick off the first Saturday of October. If you have not registered, you may register now. The deadline is September 6th for registration for Lady of Legacy mentorship. It is a quarterly mentorship program. Everything life, everything I've been talking about that I will not talk about on here in the mentorship. You can register at NatalieKOwens.com. There are payment plans set up for you, and I hope you'll join me. I really hope you'll join me. I'm excited for it. I love you guys. As again, I said, thank you for watching me. I'm kind of getting the hang of this thing. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and you guys have a great night.
Oh my, did you bless